my presentation with that prayer because my mom and my grandma told me you can go to the college, you can go to the school. If you ain't got no religion, you just an educated fool. And out of respect for what they tried to do, to keep me on the right path, I open my presentation because y'all hear what come out of my mouth. God knows what's in my heart. I come to the grave when I leave with the truth. And that's what I'm going to be able to receive. The presentation today is about Ebonics. And I always give the same speech every year. This is the 17th year that I've given it because a lot of people are hearing about Ebonics the first time. I made the mistake of doing that the second year. I was going to move on. I'd already told me what Ebonics is. Let's move on. And Sister Nzinga, God bless her soul, said, Ernie, his people come here and then you way ahead of them with what you talking about. Give the speech to the people who don't know. That's the whole purpose of Ebonics. So I'm going to give that presentation, but I'm going to also add to the presentation my comments on the influence of Ebonics on hip-hop culture.
All right.
This is move on, man. That's just open it. Okay. This slide here just tells you that various studies indicate that educators and clinicians, because it's medical school, need a wider scope of information on the language of the citizens of enslaved United Congo Africa. And even after the Linguistic Society of America's 1997 resolution in support of the Oakland Unified School District's finding that the word Ebonics refers to an African language system. The genetic kinship of the native language of African Americans is still an unresolved issue. For the vast majority of the public, the first time ever hearing of the word Ebonics was in December 1996. This was the result of the mass media frenzy that emerged in the aftermath of the Oakland Unified School District Board of Education having passed a resolution recognizing Ebonics as a word that refers to an African language system. So by background, let me share with you what was going on. There were parents who were putting Ebonics down as the home language of their children because in the state of California, parents are required to make out a home language identification form, a home language survey. And these parents put Ebonics down, and that was supposed to trigger an assessment. And depends on how your child scores on this assessment. Today they're using what's called the SELF test. This is the California English Language Development Test. And if your child scores at a certain level, you're going to be considered limited English proficient. And if you score real low, you're non-English proficient. If you score higher than limited, then you're considered to be fully English proficient, FEP. So you got FEP, LEP, and NEP. We used to just call them less, limited English speaking, non-English speaking, then they changed it to limited English proficient, limited non-English proficient. All of this refers to what you score. It measures fluency. It measures not what your mother tongue is. You've already identified your mother tongue as a language other than English. That's why you were given the SELF. Some of these fools in school districts think that the test identifies whether your mother tongue is English. The test only examines the degree to which you know English. Okay, and as I said, if you score at a certain level, you're going to be identified as limited. The limited English proficient black child is not given anything. And as Brother Umar and a couple other speakers have already told you, likewise, the limited English proficient Africans from the continent are not given anything. They're not even given an assessment, and they come from a continent where at least their languages are recognized as languages. And when they get over here, Africans don't have languages. All they have is grunts, mating calls, distress signals. And that's what you had when we come over there and brought you over here and gave you Jesus and some good work. Okay? What is Ebonics then? Ebonics is a portmanteau of two words, ebony, which means black, and phonics, which means sound. The term was coined in 1973 by Professor Robert Williams, who's a professor of psychology at Washington University in St. Louis. Now, Webster's dictionary defines the word portmanteau, because that line went past some of y'all, as a large suitcase, a word or morpheme whose form and meaning are derived from the blending of two or more distinct forms. Take, for example, small and fog. And I mean, smoke and fog is how you get the word small. Smoke and fog, and you combine those two as a portmanteau. Combining those two words, you get small. Likewise, according to the American Heritage Dictionary, a portmanteau is a word formed by merging of the sounds and meanings of two different words. And they give here an example of motor and hotel, and that's how you come up with motel. So Ebonics only means what? Black sounds. In January 26, 1997, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch editorial in an article, the Journal of Black Psychology, Robert Williams provides excerpts from a tape recording made in 1973 during a small group meeting when the portmanteau of Ebonics was coined. In this book, Black Psychology, Robert Williams wrote an article in 1997, and he gives some outtakes from that recording. He says, the term Ebonics, coined by the author in 1973 at a conference on the language of black children, was formed by combining ebony, which means black, and phonics, speech sound. Two thoughts on the origin of Ebonics are presented. A, the Pidgin Creole, and B, the African retention. What sparked the national controversy on Ebonics was the Oakland School District seeking to recognize Ebonics as a legitimate language. The school district's primary goal was to discover what they were considering more evidence of what Ebonics was. He says, thus in 1973, the African-American linguist and I met to name and define our language. The following is the part of a conversation that occurred. First thing Robert Williams says, ladies and gentlemen, we need to define what we speak. We need to give a clear definition of our language. Ernie Smith. Let me tell you something. If you notice, every language in the world represents a nation or nationality. What we're speaking has continuity, not only in the United States, but outside the United States and all the way back to the mother country. We need to get a term completely off the English, I said side of the scale, because we're talking about European language coming into contact and merging with an African language. All you see now is the blend of the two. And now you're trying to figure out what is this hybrid or this combine of the two language systems. So I said you need to start calling it what it really represents. Dr. Williams, let me make a point here. Language is a process of communication, but we need to deal with the root of our language. He was agreeing. What about Igbo? Igbo linguistic, Igbo lingual, Igbo phonics, Ebonics. Let's define our language as Ebonics. The root. That sounds real good, Dr. Williams. I'm talking about an ebony language. You know that ebony means black, and phonics refers to speech sounds or the science of speech sound. Thus, we're really talking about the science of black speech sounds or language. And coming, that's beautiful, Dr. Williams. With Ebonics, we mean black pronunciation, vocabulary, syntax, structure, and the whole ball of wax, great code. That's beautiful. Now we can go to a new term and really define what it is that what the language, our language really is, Ernie Smith. Ebonics may be defined as linguistic and paralinguistic features which on a concentric continuum represent the communicative competence of West African, Caribbean, and United States slave descendants of African origin. It includes the grammar, the various idioms, patois, argot, idiolect, and social dialects of black people. It also includes nonverbal sounds, cues, and gestures, which are systematically and predictably utilized in the process of communication. By way of background, Robert Williams had been given funds by the NIMH, that's the National Institute of Mental Health, to bring together some scholars. And this conference was called the Cognitive and Linguistic Development of the African American Child. They had been giving funds to the speech pathologists and audiologists. They had given funds to people in psychology and people in education and to people in anthropology and linguistics. And they have been getting some confusing information at NIMH as they begin to apply for refunding of their research. And they needed to have some understanding, and he was given the opportunity to bring the scholars in all of these disciplines together in St. Louis in 1973. And that's what the conference is about. Out of that conference came a book on Ebonics called Ebonics, the True Language of Black Poets. It's an anthology of a number of presenters who presented there. He said, in a recent conference entitled The Cognitive and Language Development of the Black Child, held in St. Louis in January, a group of black scholars pointed out that the cultural difference model contained more political and economic overtones than grammatical, phonological, and syntactical consideration. Very little clarification of the controversy involving the difference model has been demonstrated by using the difference model approach. For example, it is not resolved as to what black English or non-standard English really is. And he tells you all of the people who gave input to this dialogue. He says, in a barrage of criticism, all these people held that the concept of black English or non-standard English contains deficit characteristics and therefore must be abolished. Following considerable discussion regarding the language of black people, the group reached a consensus to adopt the term Ebonics, combining ebony and phonics, or black sound. Now, to understand the real essence and true meaning of the word Ebonics, it's essential that one grasp the concept and is familiar with the meaning of two words. Those two words are autochthonous and diaspora. In Webster's dictionary, the word autochthon, or autochthonous, are defined here. More at humble, one supposedly sprung from the ground he inhabits, an aborigine, a native, something that is autochthonous. What is autochthonous? Indigenous native. Okay? Webster's dictionary defines the word diaspora as the settling of scattered colonies of Jews outside of Palestine after the Babylonian captivity, the Babylonian exile. B, the area outside of Palestine settled by Jews. C, Jews living outside Palestine or modern Israel. A, the breaking up and scattering of people, such as the migration. Here you have black diaspora to northern cities. The tilde, that little wavy line is the tilde, represents northern city. The people settled far from their ancestral homelands, African diaspora. In other words, Africans on the continent, born on the continent, literally sprung from the soil or autochthonous Africans. Africans born everywhere else are still Africans. They're Africans in diaspora. Japanese born in Japan, on the soil of Japan, are autochthonous Japanese. Japanese born everywhere else are Japanese in diaspora. Chinese born on the mainland or anywhere on the area called China are autochthonous Chinese. Chinese born outside of China are still Chinese. They're Chinese in diaspora. Now everybody grasps that concept, but these hog-mauled and hot sauce eating Negroes who tell you they're my color, but they're not my kind. I'm an individual. I swam alongside the slave ship. I didn't come to live. So everybody except the bet you by God is wild Negroes who came here bottom hole of the slave ship understand that they're Africans in diaspora. A watermelon planted and grown on the continent of Africa is a watermelon. It doesn't stop being a watermelon if you bring the seed and come plant them over here in America. It's still a watermelon. But some people can't grasp that concept. Okay? Well, I'm talking about black people who are proud of their African ancestry. Okay? I'm not talking about black Anglo-Saxons from Germany. I mean, you got Negroes talking that talk. They're pushing that SEL, standard English learner nonsense. I speak English. I never spoke no African. How people come here from Germany, I speak English. What English is. But they'll tell you they Anglo-Saxon, they're dark skinned Anglo-Saxon. Ain't never spoken none of that. I didn't come with that. No, my ancestors came with that. Okay? But they go out to school. I want my child taught standard English. He's a standard English learner. Why? Because you put English as your primary language on the home language for English school. Okay? So now you want school district to take your child from that broken, corrupt, evil, wicked, licentious, base, everything black, okay, has a negative adjective in the dictionary. And when they call your language black English, they're talking about that broken, sloppy, sloven, dilapidated, anything negative you want to talk about, your dialect of English. But they're proud of it. In the slavery time, we know that old master took advantage of a lot of the black women inside a lot of black people, black children. We were considered livestock. So if the master was having sex with his livestock, we were property. We were no more than a mule, a pig, or a chicken. So he was committing bestiality. And they would rather own ownership of a bestiality committing white man than be proud of their African ancestors. That's how sick them kind of Negroes are. They're going to claim ancestry from Germany. How did they get to Germany? They don't even go there. All they know is they spoke early modern English. They came here from England as early modern English speakers. All right, let's move on. The portmanteau and blending of words, ebony and phonics, means simply black sound. In the article entitled Ebonics, an international language, Dr. Aisha Blackshaw of Lake Posse Ebonics was being not only the language of descendants of enslaved Africans in diaspora, but being the language of autochthonous Africans on the continent of Africa as well. So she said it means black sound, so that refers to the black sound made by black people on the continent. And we know from the works of Checha Diop that the people who spoke that West African languages are related to the people who spoke the black languages in ancient Kemet, which the Greeks called Egypt. Okay? So we know that black sound came here to from East Africa, West Africa, but the biological, anthropological, paleontological evidence shows that they came up from South Africa, okay, into ancient Kemet. That's the lecture that was already given by Dr. Samuel Shack, molecular biologist, who showed us that the origin of black people is not Egypt. That's maybe the first civilization that they can find. But the black people came up from South Africa. Move on. This is what Aisha says. She says, Ebonics as an international language includes all languages spoken among African people on the continent and in the diaspora. Now, originally, we were only talking about the descendants of enslaved Africans here in America. But I have no objection to her expanding it because everywhere black people go, they take their language with them. Okay? The family tree of Ebonics represent new languages that have risen out of the environmental circumstances the African in the so-called New World. Ebonics reflects African people's linguistic cultural heritage and the conditions of servitude, oppression, and life in the Americas and other places where Africans are located. So whether the Arabs took us over into the Middle East or the Europeans took us over into the Western Hemisphere, we took Ebonics with us. And everywhere we've had contact with non-black languages, we've influenced those languages as they influence the way we speak. Every time a person speaks a language that is not their mother tongue, in the science of linguistics we say that that person is going to experience what's called interference modification, or linguistic intrusion, meaning the native language will interfere and the target language will be modified wherever it's structurally different. It was the 1970s as a graduate student at UCI that on the basis of my research and studies of the grammar of Niger-Congo West African language, I concluded that the native language of descendants of enslaved Niger-Congo and West African language have the Niger-Congo and West African or Grecian grammar, with European words superimposed, most of which are not even native English words. We'll get to that in a minute. This is the book that Sister Lowe spoke about, Carla G. Woodson, so I don't need to repeat that, but let's move on. He said here that in the study of languages, people were made to scoff at the Negro dialect as some peculiar possession of the Negro which they should despise, rather than directing the study of the background of this language and the broken down African tone. In short, to understand their own linguistic history, which is certainly more important to them than the study of phonetics and historical Spanish grammar. To the African language as such, no attention was given, except in cases of preparation of traders, missionaries, and public functionaries to exploit the native. In other words, you have to have a thought to have a language. And since you ain't got no thought, since you ain't got no mating calls and distress signals and grunts, you can't have no language. I'll be glad we brought you over here. Gave you Jesus. From literature, the African was excluded altogether. He was not supposed to have expressed any thought worth knowing. To the philosophy of African proverb and in the rich folklore of that continent was ignored to give preference to that developed on the distant shores of the Mediterranean. This book, Africanism, about it in the Gullah dialect. You heard him talking about Gullah Geechee. This book by Lorenzo Turner. He says that in the slaves brought to South Carolina and Georgia direct from Africa came principally from the section along the west coast, extending from Senegal to Angola. The important areas involved were Senegal, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Liberia, the Gold Coast, Togo, Nigeria, and Angola. Today, the vocabulary of Gullah contains words found in the following languages, all of which were spoken in the above-mentioned area. And he gives you specific ethnic groups, because if I'm claiming that our language is related to the language that our ancestors spoke, I have to show you evidence in these languages that evidence the linguistic continuity. So I'm talking about the Wolo, Malinki, Mandinka, Bambara, Fula, Mende, Bai, Twi, Fante, Ga, Iwe, Fong, Fall, Yoruba, Bini, Hausa, Igbo, Ibibio, Efi, Congo, Umbundu, Ki Umbundu, and a few others. These are the languages that our ancestors were speaking when they were enslaved and brought over here on the slave ship. This is a map showing you that, where he's talking about. This is the map of the region of West Africa, where he got all of his references. It's Wolo at the top, where you got Mandinka and can't make them out. Hausa, northern Nigeria. And speaking of the word nigger, while we're on it, there are two countries in Africa that call themselves nigger. Okay, now you won't pronounce the G as a soft G. You want to palatalize it and pronounce the G as a dorsal weaver stop. Good, and ju. The letter represents the same sound. You can make it palatalize by calling it like Niger. And Niger Congo said nigger real and nigger. That's what N-I-G-E-R spell. Okay? So don't try to give me no. Let me move on. Nigger is nigger. I don't care how many G's you put in it, and how you pronounce the G. Talk about a soft G, like gold and George. You know that George is G with a soft G, and gold is G with a hard G. Nigger, N-I-G-E-R, is nigger. Okay? The two countries over there ain't ashamed of the word. I got a whole lecture on the kinetic origin of the word nigger, but that ain't this lecture today. Okay? If you want some real low-down, real deal, and raw dog on the origin of the word nigger, okay? It comes from the goddess Neger, N-E-G-G-U-R, and N-E-G-E-R-S, Neger, who were gods in ancient Kenya. So they want you to believe yourself as a god, and know that you're calling yourself a god. You got to change to call yourself a god by your righteous name. They call me a nigga, I say, now you know me by my right name. Bow down. They call me y'all old enough to say, I remember when being black, you get a razor upside your face. Okay? Sister can ice picks. And they took you with an ice pick, you call a sister a nigga. Okay? So, y'all don't hear me. This is the area of Africa in modern time. This is the area that is called Niger-Congo. Go ahead. In the Science of Linguistics is a book on historical linguistics. I have to show you the book that I got out of, because if I'm lying, Papa Winifred Lemon got me lying, okay? Y'all don't believe nothing the niggas say no way, okay? But Papa China said, y'all know I'm telling the truth, cause Master Lemon said this here, okay? Master Lemon said this here. What Master Lemon say? Let's go to his book on historical linguistics. Master Lemon said, this is the area called Niger-Congo. Go ahead. What is the Niger-Congo? American Heritage Dictionary said the Niger-Congo is a large language family of Africa that includes the Mende, that was on that list that you had a while ago, Gur, Kwa, K-W-A, and the Bantu languages, which is most of Southern Africa. Okay? The Niger River plus the Congo River, that's how they get the whole notion of Niger-Congo. The languages spoken in that area. There are three ways of classifying languages: areal, typological, and genetic. We're going to be dealing primarily today with the areal and genetic classification. We'll cover some types, but mostly we're going to be dealing with languages of a particular area and their genetic kinship. I'll explain genetic kinship in a minute. The Webster's Dictionary says, the other one was American Heritage, this is Webster. Niger-Congo, a language family that includes the Mende, Kwa branches, and that's spoken in most of the indigenous languages of West, Central, and South Africa. So when I talk about the Niger-Congo, or Nigger-Congo, 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 so y'all upset about Nigger-Congo, N-I-G-E-R, spelled nigger. How about Nigger-Congo? Move on. This book, Montu, now this is a German. Then Heinrich John, he said that in the Afro-American world, some hybrid languages have arisen. Creole, Suriname, Papiamento, and others, which are generally designated as dialects. Creole counts as spoiled French. Suriname is called Negro English. The vocabulary consists predominantly of European words, but the syntax and word formation follow the rules of African grammar. It is wrong, therefore, to call these languages spoiled English or spoiled French. If one considers the essence of a language to be its vocabulary, Creole and Papiamento must be called the youngest of the Romance languages. Suriname must be called the youngest of the Germanic languages. But if one considers the grammatical structure of a language more important than its vocabulary, then the three languages mentioned do not belong to the Indo-European group. Go ahead. These is showing you a map of how we were brought throughout the diaspora into South America, through the Caribbean, and on up into North America. This is from the Heinrich John book, Montu. That's where this map comes from. You need to get that book. It's still in print. Interference modifications, intrusion, I mentioned that in passing. Transfer phenomena of substratum retention. I explained that interference modifications mean the native language interferes and the target language is modified that. Intrusions mean the native language is intruding and it exhibits features as you attempt to speak the target language. Transfer phenomena is a more neutral or objective term because there's some baggage in the words interference and intrusion. See, in the English language, you say something is intruding or interfering, that is a negative connotation of what's happening. You call it transfer phenomena. You're saying some stuff from your mother tongue is being transferred into the target language. And likewise, people can tell when you begin to learn the target language and they see transfer phenomena from the target language in the way you talk. Okay? Remember when I was emulating the betcha by golly wow, you know, people who keep their little teeth together, move that thick tongue so that you can correctly speak the King's English, real betcha by golly wow. Emulate a do funny, you know, if you emulate the do funny, you really speak English. See, a lot of brothers don't want to emulate that speech because he got to fight for his duke shoot all the way home talking like that. You don't hear me. When you sound like that in I'm just your friend. You're petrified. You ain't my friend, sis. Okay? I'm telling you how that sounds. To a black adolescent coming up, he don't want to sound like no do-funny. Okay? So you got a whole lot of things that you don't realize you're trying to get into this boy when you're telling him about speaking so-called standard English. And that standard English is an idealization. Nobody learns that from birth. It's an idealization. It's approximated by the speech of white Anglo-Saxon Midwestern male who got identification problems in terms of their gender. Okay? From the Dictionary of Linguistics, interference means what? The errors made by carrying over the speech habits of the native language or dialect into the second language or dialect. So when I use the term interference, I say in the science of linguistics it's not a negative term. But because the word interference got negative connotations along with this definition that he's giving here, I'm showing you what it means other than what I say. Because my mouth will be flat like a crab, but don't make it no Bible. I'll show what the white folks say. Transfer. I taught the transfer of phenomenon. The process or result of carrying over grammatical forms from one language to another. In language A, for example, the patterns of the mother tongue may interfere in the acquisition of those in the foreign tongue. Okay? So that's what interference, modification, or transfer phenomenon is all about. Okay. This book on language learning, they point out that the substitution of different sounds for the interdental fricatives of English by learners from different language one background has been marked by many investigators. Weinreich notes that the majority of French speakers substituted S for a Z, English a theta for an Ed. Okay, now interdental fricatives only mean the tongue is placed between the teeth. Okay, interdental, tongue between the teeth. Fricative means mouth, back, breath, teeth. That interdental friction, that friction that you hear is the retracting of my tongue as I place it between the teeth to say mouth, back, breath, teeth, Smith. Okay, go ahead. The substitution for Russian speakers as well as the substitution of S and Z among school French speakers, among the unschooled. They don't find that for English, theta and Japanese speakers, T and speakers of Thai and Tagalog. Okay. What they're pointing out is that people speak different languages with an accent. They have a mother tongue and they speak the target language, and you see the interference from their mother tongue, and you often just as a layperson would call it, he's got some kind of accent. Okay. In the East European languages, Russian example, if a Russian decides to say the molecular structure of the wall, the theta, the retroflex velar spirate, that's an R, and bilabial velar glide, whoa, 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 that W sound is not pronounced as pronounced in English. So instead of the molecular structure of the wall, you get the molecular structure of the board. The molecular structure of the board is interference modification. Now you don't have a problem when a Russian says the molecular structure of the ball. I disagree. If you run fight boxes, you really have to go through the business board. Okay? They have their accent and they can't speak English like American white boys speak it. But ain't nothing wrong with it if I say blick struck the wall. Blick struck to the wall. Blick struck the wall, but we blick struck the wall every time I say blick struck the wall, because that's the way my mama said blick struck to the wall. That's what my dad said blick struck to the wall. My grandma said blick struck to the wall. My grandma said blick struck to the wall. Wall, wall, niggas, well, I've been living all my life saying blick struck to the wall. It's not the wall. It's the molecular structure of the wall. Okay? So I got to mimic the way I do funny talk, okay, to speak your language correctly. Okay? If I don't mimic the do funny way you talk, then something wrong with me cognitively, or something wrong with my oropharyngeal cavity. I have big, thick lips, my tongue too thick, I have trapezoid nostrils, pygmalicism of the nasal cavity. Something biophysically is wrong with me if I can't talk like you talk. Everybody else can talk with an accent, but when I start using African retention, when I talk, I'm something biogenetic here. You don't need therapy unless you're sick. Go see what you're a beast pathologist. What's pathological about me speaking with an African accent? Beast therapist. I'm sick if I have an accent. Everybody else, they have an accent from their mother tongue. The Chinese people have difficulty with the retroflex velar spiral in the initial position. A Chinese person tries to say, oh, Robert Redford likes fried rice. Robert Redford likes fried rice. He can't pronounce no R, so what he gonna say? Loud left like fried rice. Loud left like fried rice. Why he said loud left like fried rice? Because he can't pronounce the R. He said loud left like fried rice. Robert Redford likes fried rice and loud left like fried rice. Okay? Italians have difficulty with vowel, consonant, okay, sequences. They have a vowel, consonant, vowel, super-segmental system in their phonology. The deep structure of Italian follows a very canonical form of shape. The shape of the canonical form of the syllable structure is very strongly a CV pattern. You don't find a consonant anywhere. So if an Italian tries to say, tonight, I'm going to eat some meatballs. The only word that ended with a vowel in that sequence was the word some. And he's going to stress the some. So instead of tonight, I'm going to eat some meatballs, you get tonight, I'm going to eat some meatballs. Tonight I'm going to eat some meatballs. It's an Italian accent because they don't have a consonant phoneme endings. So an Italian said, tonight I'm going to eat some meatballs. No problem. There you go. You can't talk English. Y'all don't hear me. I'm giving you an example of what young children are doing, what you've been doing. They ain't got no control over being born to you. This way you talk around the house, when you sit in the school talking this way, that's his fault. It's her fault. This book has a glossary in it. And it explains a term that I'm submitting to you, you need to understand. And that is a concept in linguistics called relexification. What is relexification? Relexification is the replacement of a vocabulary item in a language, words from another, without a change in the grammar. We'll give an example down here. Of course, ego amo tu, E-G-O. Amo means love, and tu is you. This is simply a relexification of I love you with Latin words. In other words, subject, verb, object is not Latin grammar. You're using Latin words, ego amo tu. But you're not speaking Latin just because you use Latin words. You're speaking Latin when you follow the Latin thought process, when you follow Latin grammar. And that is not Latin grammar. Okay? Go ahead. Spanish is an example. If you have el bionico hombre, el is the equivalent of the, bionico is the equivalent of bahani, hombre is the equivalent of man, or la roja casa. La is the equivalent of the, roja is the equivalent of red, and house, casa, is the equivalent of house. In Spanish, the adjective comes after the noun, not before. The correct word order in Spanish is el hombre bionico, not el bionico hombre. So you can't claim you speak in Spanish just because you learned some Spanish words. You speak in Spanish when you know Spanish grammar. You're not speaking Spanish if you say La Roja Casa. You speak in Spanish when you know how to modify the nouns with the adjectives correctly. And to do that, you have to know to put the adjective after the noun and say La Casa Roja. You understand? You're not speaking Japanese just because you learned some Japanese words. You speak in Japanese when you know Japanese grammar. If somebody comes to me and says, Anata no namae wa nan desu ka? Anata no namae wa nan desu ka? Is speaking of your name, what it is, all words occur to end. My reply would appropriately be, Watashi no namae wa sumisu oni desu. Speaking of my name, Ernie Smith it is. Okay? You're not speaking Japanese if you don't know Japanese grammar. Just knowing Japanese words ain't gonna make you speak of Japanese. Knowing Spanish words ain't gonna make you know speak of Spanish. Knowing English words don't make you know speak of English. You've learned the white man's words, but you don't know a lot of times what they mean, and you sure don't know how to pronounce it most times. Move on. I'm saying then that the argument that our language is African language hinges on your understanding of what the science of linguistics call the grammar of a language. This last sentence down here on the, go back to the book up top about, I was showing a book I'm talking about this thing, I'm making this up. In this book called Contemporary Linguistics, William O'Grady, that's Eisenman, Dobrowski, sounds like some Polish, Russian, and Arnold, they wrote this book. Now this is what I got out of their book on Introduction to Linguistics. In investigating linguistic competence, linguists focus on the mental system that allows human beings to form and interpret words and sentences of their language. This system is called a grammar. For purposes of this book, we will divide grammar into the following components: for phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics. And they tell you what each one of these areas of the grammar is responsible for. The phonetic is responsible for the articulation and perception of speech sound. The phonology is the pairing and patterning of these speech sounds. The morphology is shaping and forming words with these sounds. Syntax is stretching these words into sentences. And syntax is, what do these words and what do these sentences mean? This is what linguists study when they talk about examining the grammar of a language. Say, linguists use the term grammar in a rather special and technical way. Because this usage may be unfamiliar, we will devote some time to considering several properties of the system that linguists call the grammar. One of the most fundamental claims of modern linguistic analysis is that all languages have a grammar. This can be verified by considering a few simple facts. Since all languages are spoken, they must have phonetic and phonological systems. Since they all have words and sentences, that they also must have a morphology and a syntax. And since all these words and sentences have systematic meaning, there obviously must be semantic principles as well. As these are the very things that make up a grammar, it follows that all human languages have this type of system. So Africans have languages. They have their own phonology, their own phonetics, their own phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantic system in their African language. In this book, the Introduction to Language, it tells you that the phonological systems of language is different. Different languages have different inner-tones of sound, and all languages have some of the same sound. In fact, certain sounds are found in every language. All languages have vowels and consonants always include stops and continuums. While the vowels always include the high front vowel. Consider, for example, English and Twi. Twi is one of the languages that we speak when we brought over here. Two widely different languages from two distinct language families. So Twi is not a Germanic language. The German is not Twi. Both contain the consonants that gives you the graphemes or letters that represent those sounds. P, T, K, B, D, G, M, N, Ing, F, S, H, R, W, Y, Ch, and J sounds. And the vowels E, I, A, U, O, and R. They share those sounds. There are sounds in English not found in Twi, such as the Z sound, which is a alveolar stop. Z, z, z. B, b, a labial dental fricative. And the theta and the ed, that's a TH sound. Voice and voices. Okay. So, if you have a word from a European language, like English, with the word mouth, teeth, bag, breath, and Smith, go back to it. Now, you see, they both had F, but they didn't have the theta and the ed. So, you can pronounce the F, but you can't pronounce the theta and the ed. So, you get, for mouth, you get mouth. Breath, you get breath. Teeth, you get teeth. Bad, you get bad. Smith, a Smith, you get Smith. Okay? That's interference modification. I retain what I had in Africa, and I make approximations to what you got in your language. That's what you hear as an accent. So I can tell what tribe you come from by listening to you talk. Let's go, move on. Since many Niger-Congo languages, consonants do not occur in the final position at all, or do so with considerable restriction. Nasalization in exclusively final position may often be analyzed as a final nasal, ordinarily a single na, or ing, and dorsal velar continuum. Ing, or na. This can be done in the Sanufo languages, Bambara, Iwe, Yoruba, with no difficulty. Bambara, Iwe, and Yoruba was on that list that Lorenzo Turner gave you, and I'll share that list again if you need. Move on. So in words like burning, learning, turning, running, winning, and sinning, you won't find that double articulation of a nasal. Burning, learning, running, winning, sinning. You get burning, turning, learning, running, winning, and sinning. The dorsal velar continuum, ing, is not being deleted, omitted, dropped, or lost. It never existed. You don't have that because the canonical form or shape of the syllable structure in the Niger-Congo African language is CV, CV, CV. And you don't find that kind of continuum, double articulated stops or double articulated nasals. Ringing, singing, swinging, banging, and hanging. Here's the double articulation of a dorsal velar continuum. The other one is the end of the ing. Here's the double articulation of a dorsal velar continuum, ing and ing. So instead of ringing, singing, swinging, banging, hanging, you get ringing, singing, swinging, banging, and hanging. Okay? Clear? No language seems to have double articulated stops in the syllable final position. You're talking about African language. We're talking about the language that we're speaking over here. We're talking about the African language. This is from the book African Language Structure. Go back to the very beginning of it. African language structure. So if I'm lying, William Wellman at UC Berkeley got me lying. He wrote this book. And he's telling you what the African languages look like. Okay. No language seems to have double articulated stops. Okay. In FP, KP appears in the syllable initial position, but P does not. P appears in the syllable final position, but a KP does not. In this case, though it is not common among other languages, KP and P are allophones of one phoneme. Now, in linguistics class, I break all this allophones and all that kind of stuff down. Just understand that a P and a T together would be a doubly articulated stop. T is a bilabial stop. Bi meaning two, labials meaning lip. Bilabial. And a T is an alveolar stop. So wept, crept, slept, inept, except that PT configuration, that's a double articulated stop. P is a stop, T is a stop, putting a W, two stops together would be a doubly articulated stop. That's what he's telling you. So these are the words: wept, crept, slept, inept, except. We just say wept, crept, slept, inept, and except. The T is not lost, it's not deleted, omitted, or dropped. It never existed as a double articulated stop. You're African. You still talk like African. You ought to be proud to talk like African. That's your right mind. In Nilo-Saharan as well as the Niger-Congo, consonant clusters are generally rare. In Afro-Asiatic, that's Berber, Arabic, Hebrew, Syrian, those are Afro-Asiatic languages. Though less conspicuously in Chadic than in other branches, consonant clusters and double consonants are common. Okay, so while the Arabs may be on the continent of Africa, they're not Niger-Congo or Sub-Saharan black Africa. Okay? So you got sounds like left, theft, lift, drift, swift, that FT configuration. You're going to get left, theft, lift, drift, and swift. Desk, mask, risk, husk, tusk. Desk, risk, desk, mask, risk, husk, and tusk. Don't ask me. Don't ask me what you're talking about. Don't ask me. We don't pronounce the ask me. Don't ask me. Okay? No, don't ask me. Now, a lot of our people try to do that combination, but they put the K before the S and say, don't ask me, ask. Okay? That's called metathesis. You're inverting or reversing the order of the consonants, trying to pronounce ask, then you say ax. Putting the K before the X. It's not the same as the S before the K is don't ask me. Don't ask me is the K before the S, okay? Don't ask me. West, best, test, last, and fast is west, best, test, last, and fast. Okay? Build, bold, cold, hold, fold. Build, bold, cold, hold, and fold. The D is not dropped. The D is not lost. It's not omitted. It didn't exist in the first place. Okay? That combination is not out. Land, band, sand, hand is land, band, sand, and hand. All we're talking about is interference modification, relexification. You're using their words, but you're retaining the phonology of your mother tongue from all the way back down. Okay? Now, we know that a lot of our people have mastered the English language, and that's to their credit. So don't take anything I'm saying as to demean two people, two sets of people. Some black people born in white environments got the can't help. Okay? Can't help meaning they have no control over what's in their environment, and they try to communicate effectively in the environment. Their parents moved into a predominantly white neighborhood, all their playmates are white, so they're going to talk differently from black in the project. Okay? So, and if a black living in the project learns to mimic the so-called ideally competent English, that's to their credit, because you may be able to whoop some game. Okay? As I told you, they know how to switch up, and when they switch up, they give a person, they may give that person who they're switching up for a certain level of confidence. I'm talking about brothers need to have that in their toolbox to catch action. Because some sisters think a nigga that talk like that is fool. You know, you don't even get a little fool. Okay? So if you can't speak, bet you by golly wow, You hear me? T loud and panic. So the thing is, you got to be able to know how to switch up. If you got any rap, any kind of game, you know what I mean? You might have to use as much bet you find out in a while as you can. This is the top of the subsystem. Because they got a problem, you understand me, with you sounding, you know, like over your little food. Okay? Now, there are some constant blends that we do make. I don't share with you the caveat that where there's a blend and both members of the pair are heterogeneous, meaning one is voiced and the other is voiceless. That heterogeneous blend does occur. It is the homogeneous voicing that don't occur. Back up a minute, show you what I mean by homogeneous. When you make a voice sound, they actually hear your voice. And we call those sounds because when the air comes up from the trachea through the windpipe into the laryngeal cavity, you can tighten the vocal fold and force the air through and make the vocal cord, the vocal fold vibrate. And when they vibrate, we call that a voice sound. But if the vocal folds are left lax and the air egresses through the glottis, that's the space between the vocal cord, into the oral, the pharyngeal cavity, those are called voiceless sounds. When I talk in a whisper, you hear the noise, but you don't hear my voice. Only time you hear my voice is when I tighten my vocal cords. Okay? So we're talking about voiceless and voice sound, or voiced and unvoiced noises that are made by tightening the vocal cord. And I'm saying here that land and band, the N is a voiced alveolar nasal, and D is a voiced alveolar stop. Land, na 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 na, da 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 da. T is voiceless. T and D are the same articulation, but T is voiceless. Da 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 da. The only difference of the T and the D is T is voiceless and D is voiced. Okay? Wilt, tilt, wilt, stilt, kilt, quilt, belt. We have no problem with that. We don't say tilt for tilt, wilt, stilt. Okay? Stilt, quilt, kilt, belt. We don't say belt for belt. Okay? Matter of fact, a lot of people try to say killed and say he got killed. Killed. Yeah. Jump, pump, bump, pimp, and blimp. We don't say jump or jump, pump or pump, bump or bump, pimp or pimp, blimp or blimp. So don't go away from me and say, Dr. Smith, we don't make consonant blends at the end of the word. I ain't said no such thing. Qualified it by letting you know which ones we do and which ones we don't. Where there's heterogeneous voicing, the consonant blend will occur. Where there's homogeneous voicing, the consonant blends tend not to occur. Pink, stink, hump, jump, and skunk. We don't say pin for pink, a sting for sting, pump for pump, a jump for jump, a skunk for skunk. So those are heterogeneous voicing. And we do make those sounds as if they're articulated in English. Been, sent, went, came, and ain't. Been, went, sent, went, came, ain't. The retroflex being inspired, I passed it in a while ago, talking about mourning, bored, scared, forget, and force. In the final position or in the initial middle position, we tend not to articulate that sound. Okay, so instead of mourning, you say moaning. You moan. Bored, bored. Scared, scared. Forget, forget, get you. Force, both. For, your, for, floor, more, and store. There's for, your, for, floor, more, and store. Okay? In the Yoruba language, a syllable in Yoruba may have one of three forms. It may be a vowel, a consonant plus a vowel, or nasal written as M and N, M and none. Alphabet. It is not possible to have groups of consonants in any position or have syllables ending in consonants. Okay, that's particular to Europe. Go ahead. In this book by Peter Lattifogle, the late Peter Lattifogle, he was at UCLA. He did a study of phonetic study of West African languages. And he said that many West African languages, including most of the Kwa was named as one of the Niger-Congo languages, can be considered to have no consonant cluster. The decision as to whether to regard numbers of a particular sequence of consonants as single phonemic units or as clusters is called arbitrary. I have tried to include in Table 1 all of the contrasting consonants in at least those languages that have a simple CV structure. CV structure. I'll tell you about it. These are the languages that he studied. The Fula, the Wolo, the Mindi, the Bambara, the Fante, 43, Ga, number 45, Twi, 46, Iwe, number 50. Going over to Fall and Yoruba. These are the languages that we were speaking, and this is the area of West Africa that he studied. Okay, where he got this, he said the languages and hometown are the principal informants listed in Appendix A. So this is where he got his stuff, and he's saying that he tends to find no final consonant. Okay, CV, they follow a very strong CV vocabulary pattern. So here's an example of putting words together. G-check, what's G-check?
Did you eat yet?
Did you eat yet? Well, you heard what G-check? You didn't know did you eat yet? You heard G-check. CV, CV, C. You see that? G-check? 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 J-U-W-I-J-E. G-check? Now, did you eat yet? No, Jew. No, Jew. No, Jew. No, did you? Okay? You didn't hear no, did you? No, Jew. Okay. His brother got a restaurant down in the house in Mississippi. He won't really put him in, but he not to talk their language. G-check? Okay. He talk their language, he won't come here to the restaurant. Okay. Well, let's get some tea. Well, let's get some tea. Where we gonna go? Where we gonna go? Let's go to Roscoe's. Okay. No, they take too long. No, they take too long. No, they take too long. I want you to see this C pattern. The CV pattern. Consonant by the CV pattern. No, go with the no, they take too long. No, they take too long. Okay? No, they take too long. Okay? Well, that's a menu from Roscoe, go to Manchester. Man. How about Eminem? How about Eminem? Mississippi Mary was talking about. How about M&M's? Okay? With Miss M&M Soul Food. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, that'll work. M&M, yeah, that'll work. What you in the restaurant now? What you gonna get? I want some red snapper, black eyed peas, candy yam, and greens.
We know it. That's right. That's right.
How about you?
That's right.
I want some neck bones, red beans, rice, and cabbage. Neck bones, red beans, rice, and cabbage. Now, time for dessert. Jicho Jello? Jicho Jello? What is Jicho Jello? Did you eat your Jello? Okay, but you didn't hear no, did you eat your Jello? Said Jicho Jello? See that consonant vowel, consonant vowel, consonant vowel, consonant vowel, consonant vowel. That's Jicho Jello. But in English, did you eat your Jello? That's African. The canonical form and shape of the syllable structure of Ebonics is the CV, CV, CV pattern, that's your retention from mother country that you came from. And the history of segregation and social isolation has served to preserve those differences. The history of segregation and social isolation has served to preserve those differences. Because as sure as you move out in the valley and become a valley girl, you're going to be talking like a valley girl. Juicy Bobby Nim? Juicy Bobby Nim? What's Juicy Bobby Nim? Did you see Bobby and them? Did you see Bobby and them? No, you know, did you see Bobby and them? Did you see Bobby and them? It's either did you see Bobby and them or Juicy Bobby and them? Did you see Bobby and them? No, not today. No, not today. No, not today. Okay. The whole issue of the verb to be, especially in terms of the use of the preposition there, like somebody, where your mama at? Okay? I was in the first semester, used to everybody, I couldn't find the library, and I went up to a home and said, hey man, where the library at? Well, you see Irvine, we don't end our sentences with prepositions. Well, where the library at, home? We don't get our sentences. But it's ungrammatical in English, and a teacher will bleed all over your paper with red marks. You get your sentence and call yourself right meaning, and then you also add a preposition that they consider preposition. We take their word, but we use it to represent our thought. So we use the word at, but at is used in the form of the verb to be. You say, where is Bobby and them? Where do they be? Where your mama be? Where is she at? Meaning, where does she be in time and space? When you say mama, that was a common noun, so she exists. When you use a noun, what is a noun in English or any language? A person, place, or thing. A proper noun in English is a particular person, particular place, a particular thing. Okay? You say, where your mama at? She exists. You got to predicate existence by a verb to be. We have a topic and a comment. You ask where your mama be. We use the word at to do that. And this is verified here when he said that to be as a verb of quality, or to be as a copula, or to be as a locative or locational verb. So understand that we represent the African thought. We use the devil word, but the thought is what you have to understand. Go ahead. What Bible did I cover that? Go ahead. Where'd you park your car at? Where'd you park your car at? Okay. Where did you park your car at? Okay. You gonna get a ticket. You gonna get a ticket. I'm showing you the CV vocabulary pattern as well as in the verb to be. You are going to get a ticket. Okay? Listen, you're going to get a ticket. He said, you're going to get a ticket. Where your mama at? Where your mama? Take that out the sentence altogether. You're still not talking English. Where your mama? Where's the verb? If you speak in English, you can say, where is your mother or mama? Not where your mama. Okay? Oh man, she gone. She gone. She's not here. That's a locative. She gone means where? She's not here. She's no longer. She's not in this location. Okay. She gone. You say a long time. Oh man, she been gone. There's a difference in she gone would mean you missed her. She gone. When you want to be a long time, she's not been here. You say, yeah, she's been gone. Then, as a remote time construction, configures in the mind of the listener or the person you're talking to that not only is she not here, she's not been here a long time. You tell the person, oh man, she married. Okay, where's the verb? She married. Man, she been married. Now, white folk still married? Most likely, if she's been married, it implies that she's no longer married. When the black people say she's been married, that means what? Long time. You think you can hit on because she's been married. If you think it's white, you say she's been married, that means you got action, but you catch action here. She's been married means she's been married a long time. She's happily married. You just didn't know that. Okay? So she's been married means she's long time married, not she's no longer married. Understand that this is how we use the same word, but we don't mean the same thing. Okay? Go ahead. Got your new car, huh? Man, I've been having this car. He doesn't say he used to have it. He's saying, I had it, I own it now, I've had this car all the time. I've been having this car. But white folks think, been had me, I ain't got it no more. I've been had it, I don't have it no more. Clear? Okay, go ahead. In Arabic, there is no verb to be. I'm using this only as an example. Karim bin Beirut fi Libnan, huwa tabi, they use. Karim bin Beirut fi Libnan, huwa doctor. We use that doctari, that's the Swahili word, doctor or doctari. Okay, it's what in Arabic, the word for doctor is tabi, T-A-B-I-B. Fi Mustashfa, Ano Handes min Abu Dhabi. Shuguli fi wazarat il-Batron, ukti sikutera fi Bank Abu Dhabi. What he said is Kareem, it's the translation of it. Kareem is from Beirut in Lebanon. He is a doctor in a hospital. I'm an engineer from Abu Dhabi. My work is in the Ministry of Petroleum. My assistant secretary at the Bank of Abu Dhabi. But if you go back up to the sentence, Kareem, min, that means from Beirut. No verb between the word Kareem and Beirut. Fi Libnan, in Lebanon. Huwa doctor, huwa tabi. No, huwa is no verb to be between doctor and huwa. Fi Mustashfa. Ana Muhammad, he would say, I am an engineer. He said, Ana Muhammad, I engineer. I'm just using this as an example to show you all languages don't have anything called copula verb or verb to predicate, to be. Okay? Russian has no verb to be. So it's not something unique to the African language. European languages likewise have this amount. Let's move on. I think I made the point. In many languages, there's a single construction which explicit inclusive reference to past action. For such languages, it's time quite resilient to speak of a past construction. Come down to the sentence here. On the other hand, there are a number of languages that have more than one construction referring to past time. Some Bantu languages distinguish a near past, particularly with reference to action performed early on the same day, and a remote past. Dr. Lowe spoke to this issue of present, more recent as opposed to a long distant time. So the remote time construction, we use the word dead to do that in our language as a verb that we use for that purpose. Al-Usa, when something's completed, we use the word done as a completed aspect. We get that as that featured in the house example of how it's done. I donate means I completed eating. When you say I've been donating, I mean a long time completed eating. I done all I could, I mean I completed all I could. But if you say I done all I could, I ain't going to try no more. I done all I could. The difference I done all I could is I done all I could. And that extra done, shit you know, don't even have to try. I done all I could. My sister, she's smart. My sister, she's smart. That's a topic and a comment. The topic, my sister, she's smart, is a comment. There's no verb to be. My sister is smart. And that she was a part of the noun phrase or the subject. That would be too many nouns in the subject. And she starting the predicate verb phrase is not grammatical. So you can't even look at this as the English sense. It's English words, but it's African thought process, topic and a comment. My brother Charles, he played football. My brother Charles is the topic. he played football, comment. There is no verb to be. This study is in African linguistics. There's a language that they show you. John hit my mother is the English expression. And the passive form of that would be, my mother was hit by John. If you go to number B there. My eye were under, anonymity, dwarf, Indi, Jodi. My mother, she is the topic. Hit by John is the comment. It means my mother was hit by John. But the topic is my mother, she, and the comment has what's called a recapitulative pronoun. A recapitulative pronoun is a pronoun that recapitulates the topic. My mother, she, hit by John. My brother Charles, he played football. That's a gender marker for knowing that he's talking about his brother, not his sister, some other lady. My sister, she's smart. My brother Charles. That's a topic and a comment. So don't look at black language as having a noun phrase and a verb phrase or a subject and a predicate. It's an African language system. You have fewer than an African language system that's been retained because we've been oppressed, repressed, depressed, suppressed, compressed here in the wilderness of North America. And social isolation from white people. And in social isolation from white people around a number of black people, we talk like black people talk. And everybody understands what we did. Clear. Don't ask me, you the teacher. That teacher, she mean. That teacher, she mean. That teacher is the topic. She mean is a comment. There's no verb to be. That teacher is mean. Okay? You the teacher. You are the teacher. Okay? No, you the teacher. Don't ask me. You the teacher. My mama, she got real long fingernails. My mama, she is the topic. Got real long fingernail is the comment. Clear. My niece, where your daddy at? I don't know. He went to the barber shop or the liquor store one. He went to the barber shop or the liquor store one. Liquor store one. One of those. Liquor store one. Y'all hear this all the time. He twists it too. I ain't making up stuff here. Now, double negation. Don't nobody like Nene. Okay? Means what? Nobody likes it. If I say, what's your name, bro? Louis. If I say, there's nobody that does not like Louis. There's nobody that does not like Louis. In English, there's nobody that does not like Louis means what? Everybody likes it. There's nobody that does not. If there's nobody that does not like it, the inference is what? Everybody likes it. That's logic in white folks' mind. We say, man, don't nobody like Louis. Don't nobody like Louis. And there's nobody that does not like Louis. You understand? So when you tell white people and you do double negative like that, they, oh, you lying, you know something. You don't know nothing. It's not the case that you know nothing, you must know nothing. Don't ask me, I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. It is not the case that I know nothing. It means you know something. Okay? I ain't going over there no more. That's 3 days. I ain't going over there no more. That's 2 days. I don't know nothing. I got an appointment. I ain't got the time. Now,
what time is his appointment?
She said, you got to get in here. You know, you got high blood pressure. You understand? And you have stroke. I know I got an appointment, but I ain't got the time. He's telling her, I don't know the time of my appointment. She think he's telling her I got something more important to do. I got the time. Okay? So, it's just a black woman talking to a black man, but she is on a different space than he is when I ain't got the time. Because when she said I ain't got time, she means I got something more important to do. He's talking about I don't know the time of my appointment. Okay, here's another one. I got a cabin up here in Big Bear, overlooking the lake. I want to say this cabin. A cabin overlooking the lake. If you was interested in this property, what would you be looking for if you went up there? Cabin. And what else you be looking for? Why are you looking for a lake? I said I'm selling you a cabin overlooking the lake. Ain't no lake in the deal. If I tell overlook all right. I'm selling you a cabin overlooking the lake. Ain't no lake in the deal. You put in your mind, I'm selling you a cabin with a big bay window and a view of a lake. That's all in your mind. I'm telling you, I'm selling you a cabin, I write it out. I'm selling this man a cabin overlooking the lake.
The lake ain't in there.
And you take overlooking the lake to mean there's a lake up there. And I'm telling you, there's no lake. Okay? They do this with contracts. Sister Rosie told y'all how they do you on these contracts, these loans, these subprime loans. If it's subprime, prime is the best rate. If it's subprime, that sounds like we need a better rate than prime. Subprime. Okay? Yeah, subprime. Okay? Move on. All right. We're going to skip the Ebonics test because what we're going to do, we go right into the part about I'm 5 minutes, 10 minutes over my time, man. I thought I'd make up. Okay. This is a test. Some of the items were taken from Robert Williams. He developed the test. Adrian Dove. Adrian Dove first developed the test, so I would give him credit for doing the similar work. His test was called the Dove Counterbalance Intelligence Test. You can Google the Dove test because it was used to show cultural and linguistic bias in the civil service exam. Okay. Robert Williams, being a psychometrist, developed a test of 100 questions called the BITCH, Black Intelligence Test of Cultural Homogeneity. And he proved that black people would score a standard deviation higher than whites. Okay, because the test was skewed towards common experiences and common intersecting events in the lives of black people, so white people wouldn't have a clue. So the highest white people score was 60 and 70, and black people scored 95, 99. Okay? This is a similar test. CPT is what we're running on now in this conference. What's CPT? Colored people's time. Okay? That's number what? K. Okay. Bad means what in our language? Good, bad is good. Oppositional category. Okay. Busted means what? Got arrested. Okay. OG. Original game. Crow. To die or kill. Kitchen.
The back of your hair.
But half a hole when I get this. Okay.
Kitchen.
Chump change. What's chump change?
A little bit money.
Oh my chump change. Nigga toe. Brazil nuts. Number B. Brazil nuts. They call them Brazil nuts. Nigga toe. I should have put the all on there, maybe you understood. Bling bling. Jewelry, you got that?
Yeah.
Rizio Fizzle.
Real food.
A real food. Rizio Fizzle. Ace Boom Boom.
My number one. My dog, number one friend.
My dog, the number one friend. Ace Boom Boom. High yellow, red bone. High yellow. Okay. Having defined what Ebonics is and established what the grammar of the deep structure of the sentence in the slave African language is in fact a linguistic continuity of Africa in Black America. Let us now turn to the issue of what is English and dialects of English. Clarify for you what I'm calling English as opposed to what we're calling Ebonics. Ebonics is not an African American dialect, African American vernacular English. In fact, I get a hell of a lot of argument with my black nationalists about it, because there ain't no African American. There are Africans in America.
That's right.
That's right.
Ain't no African American. There are Africans in America.
I agree with that.
Okay? So that's brothers who way ahead of y'all. I accepted the term for communication purposes, but I've had to reap the harvest of having written a lot of articles using that term as acceptable for purposes of communication. All right? But I agree with you brothers. Based on the way I've been treated, a whole lot of my friends have been treated, ain't no African American. There's Africans in America.
Right.
Some people don't like black, don't like African American, call themselves black racial, call themselves niggas. What is English? Webster's Dictionary defines the word English as, statement number 1, the people of England, collectively, the West Germanic language of the English divided historically into Old English, Middle English, and Modern English, now spoken in the British Isles, the United States, and numerous other countries. Okay? The English language as spoken or written at a particular time, in a particular region. Okay? So West Germanic language, that's the important thing you want to grasp that. Back up. I don't want to be missing. Number 2 there. The West Germanic language of the English divided historically into Old English, Middle English, and Modern English. Okay. In this book, Introduction to Language, written by Victoria Franklin and Robert Rodman, she's at UCLA, and he's in North Carolina, here. They give the history of the English language. Division of English into Old English from 449 to 1100 AD, Middle English from 1100 to 1500, and Modern English from 1500 to the present is somewhat arbitrary, being marked by the dates of events in English history which profoundly influenced the English language. Thus, the history of English and the language and the changes that occurred in the language reflect, to some extent, non-linguistic history. The English English language had a beginning. When the Romans invaded and occupied Britain in the 1st century, the inhabitants of that island did not speak English. They were people of Celtic stock, or Celtic, depending on how you want to pronounce it, Celtic or Celtic, same meaning, who were themselves earlier invaders. Despite the Celts' resistance, the Roman legion prevailed. Under Roman rule, the Celtic civilization flourished with a Roman flavor. During this period, the Scots and the Picts, fierce tribes of northern Britain, raided and plundered Celtic villages to the south. As long as Rome was powerful, the Celts were relatively secure. As the strength of the Roman Empire waned, the Roman troops were withdrawn, and by the 5th century AD, the last Roman legion had dissolved. The Celtic king Burgoyne of Britain hired mercenaries to repel the Scots and the Picts. These hired soldiers were the Jews, powerful warriors of Teutonic origin. After beating back the invaders, the Jews proceeded to disenfranchise their Celtic employers and settled down on the rich and fertile island. The year was 449 AD. It's 449 years after the death of Christ. The new conqueror spoke what? German. Other German people arrived and occupied some of the land left vacant by the Celts, who fled to Wales, Cornwall, and the west coast of France. Welsh, Irish, Scottish, Gaelic, and Breton are all Celtic languages. Among the Germanic tribes that joined the Jews in Britain were the Saxons and the Angles, from whose name the word Angland is derived. They'll call it England. It was the English that brought the dialect of German called English today to the Isle of Great Britain. Okay? Britain's new inhabitants were isolated from the old home in northern Germany. As time passed, the German spoken in England and the German spoken on the continent changed, but independently of each other. The languages used became first different dialects of German, different from, but mutually intelligible. That means they could still understand each other. By 1066, they were no longer so. There were 2 languages, but once there was only one. Thus, the year 449 AD, one could say that English was born. In 1066, another important event, the Norman conquest of England by William the Conqueror, caused major changes in the English language. French was used as a state language, diplomatic affairs, royal court, everything was done in French. Since the French-speaking Normans were the ruling class, English continued to be spoken by the masses, but was influenced in many ways by French. Vast changes in all aspects of the language took place during this period. One major change is referred to the Great Vowel Shift. Other changes also occurred about 1500. English had become very similar to the language spoken today. Since the English spoken after 1500 is more intelligible to modern speakers than that spoken before that time, modern English is dated from that year. So what you're looking at is a language that came as a dialect of German to the island of Great Britain, was influenced first by the Roman, Italian, the mob, the mafia, okay? They got run out, and the Celts came in, and King Bertgerd had to hire the Anglo-Saxons to run them out. But then the French Normans came in 1066, and they had to fight them again. Them again meaning Latino people. There are more than half many words in the English language. Where do they all come from? We could give a quick answer to that question by saying that most words in English are borrowed from other languages. There's more to the story than that. However, to tell the whole story, we have to begin in prehistoric times. By AD 500, 3 tribes of people were living in Northern Europe. They were the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jews. They spoke one of the West Germanic languages. Linguists called their language Anglo-Saxon. We think Anglo-Saxon is the beginning of the English we speak today. In fact, some words used in Anglo-Saxon are still used in English today. We call them native English words. At the beginning of this chapter, we said that most English words have been borrowed from other languages. The rest are native English words. Of the 500,000 words in English, only about 15% are native English words. These important words are simple words, basic words of English. We couldn't do without them. Okay? Now you notice he said that only 15% are native English words. Dr. Umar pointed that out. Even what you claim is English, if you lose vocabulary as your criteria, you're not talking English because only 15% of the vocabulary of modern English is actually from the German language stock. Okay? In the dictionary you pick up, you see that most of the words are from the Romance language family. Yet English is not classified as a Romance language. Italian, Portuguese, Spanish, French, Romanian, those are Latino, Romance, Roman languages. Okay? So understand that English, even though it has a vocabulary that is shared with the Romance language, 85%, close to 90%, is from the Latino language stock clear. This book on comparative linguistics by Palmer, he says, thus to trace the transmission of linguistic symbols to write in part the history of the community which uses them, to reconstruct the ancestral forms which account for the resemblances in the communities under observation, is simultaneously to make some assessment about the ancestral language. So here, we repeat. Go to read here. We repeat. We repeat that observed resemblances between speech habits, given the empirical principle of arbitrariness, force us to the conclusion that the social connectedness by an unbroken chain of mimetic acts. You mimic the language of your environment. This connection is what is understood by relationship. In order to establish the fact of such a relationship, our evidence must not consist entirely of points of what? Points of vocabulary. For as we shall see below, Words are often borrowed by one language from another as a result of cultural contact. Thus, English has borrowed words like algebra from Arabic sources. No one, on that account, will assert that English is related to the Semitic language. What constitutes the most certain evidence of relationship is the resemblance of what? Grammatical structure. For languages retain their native structure even when their vocabularies have been swamped by foreign borrowing. Such has been the case for what? English and Hittite. So English is the precedent for the very thing I'm talking about today. English is a relexified German. They have no problem understanding the concept of relexifying the German grammar that they call English today. But when I show them empirical evidence of the relexification of the Niger-Congo-African substratum, they got a problem. They abolished, they rejected science altogether. I've established that English is a Germanic language, and the way we know English is in fact a Germanic language is based on the criteria of continuity of English or Anglo-Saxon German grammar. I maintain in order for the native language of descendants of enslaved Niger-Congo Africans to be a dialect of English, the language of descendants of enslaved Niger-Congo Africans would have to have a Germanic or English grammar with Niger-Congo African words superimposed. The only way you can show me that our language is a dialect of English, you got to show me English grammar with African words superimposed. Don't show me African grammar with European words superimposed. And I say European because I just pointed out that only 15% of the words that you use every day actually from the German language stops. Yet they want to claim their language as a dialect of English. But this is not the case. The empirical and linguistic evidence is that, in fact, the native language of descendants of enslaved Niger-Congo Africans in America has an African grammar with European words superimposed. And as I have shown above, 85% of the words in the English lexicon are not even native English words. Now, let's go to hip-hop. Now, I'm going to just deal with what I know, because I like to stay in my lane. As a linguist, I'm going to share with you something that I want to share, because I've had some experiences by being a native speaker of Ebonics, with this whole phenomenon of epic poems as an OG descendant or ancestor of modern hip-hop.
Come on, Dr.
Webster Dictionary defines hip-hop as a subculture, especially of inner-city youth, whose amusements include rap music, graffiti, and breakdancing, an element or art form prevalent within this subculture. Go ahead. Webster Dictionary defines the word rap, rapped, and rapping as to talk freely and frankly to perform rap music. Rap also means to talk or have a conversation, a line of talk or practice. In rhythmic chanting, I got these words run on, often in unison of usually rhyme couplets in a musical accompaniment, be a piece so performed. This goes to the word rhapsody. Rhapsody, a recitation of selections of epic poems, poetry, rhapsody. Rhapsodios, this is from the French and Greek word, more at an ode. I was arrested. They said a source. In my dissertation, I wrote the word rhapsodize down here about rhapsodize, to be or have been fascinated by someone with a heavy rap for conversation. Situation, we don't go into that now. Just understand that rapping, rhapsodize, the original word from which we got rhapsodize and rapping were, the brother got a heavy conversation, talked to the lady, he was rapping or rhapsodizing. So they put it to music, that's a more modern extension of what rap was. In 1970, I gave a speech in the free speech area in D.C. Irvine, and I used what I consider an epic poem to describe what I felt about the condition. It was an anti-war speech, but I extended it to a whole lot of other things. Well, there was a lady up in the 5th floor of the library building that didn't like my use the word MF and a whole lot of other words that the baby in the room. Little baby on this side, okay. But they put on this complaint that I violated section 415 of the Penal Code, and that was malicious to disturb the peace or quiet. This is a rally. Hundreds and hundreds of white kids and black, mostly white, came to the rally to hear me talk. So I ain't went up to nobody's office and made no scene. I'm in the free speech area giving a speech. And they sent me this summons said that I malicious to disturb the peace and quiet of the University of California Irvine by using vulgar, profane, and indecent language within the presence of hearing of women and children in a loud and boisterous manner. That on or about the 19th day of October 1970 within Orange County, Harvard District, Orange County, the crime of misdemeanor to violation of section 415 of the Penal Code was committed by Ernie Smith, who at the time and place last aforesaid did and therefore willingly, unlawfully, and maliciously disturb the peace and quiet of the University of California by using vulgar, profane, and indecent language within the presence hearing of women and children. Orange County Register, Los Angeles time, I got an article, I got volumes of articles. You see how they call me Sweet Ernie. Sweet Ernie.
You still Sweet Ernie.
You sweet, baby.
That ain't no change.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
We don't stop.
They said there's never been a student at UC Irvine quite like Ernie Smith.
That's right.
He's black, flamboyant, brag, and he drives a new Cadillac and owns a water road that would make Flip Wilson. Yeah. Here's what the speech I gave while my trial was going on. Now, L.E. Cox, this is the chief of the vice chancellor who representing his employee in the office. He was the vice chancellor of business and finance. And his secretary heard my speech from the 5th floor. And so she goes to him, oh, I never heard such film. Okay, anyway. So now L.E. Cox called Heavey, that's the chief of the University of Police, one bright summer day. He said, why does a black motherfucker always go around all place? That's the graduate student house. That nigga talked about us white folks in one hell of a way and said some things even I wouldn't say. That nigga stood out there in the middle of the gateway and threatened to bring my old white bourbon party for me to make. I tell you, she was a ticket holder. Every time I look around, bitch, put a ticket on my car. So I call her ticket holder. Okay, I thought you could fix the real money, get to work with Sweet Ernie. Ticket holder.
There you go, okay.
But that nigga stood out there, that nigga put the whole white race in the dub. He said, your mama had you before she had a hug. He said, everybody know your daughter ain't nothing but a hoe. Now to me, Bob, even that sounds like the 3 times before. Just about this time, Big Hugh was getting married. He was listening to Cox's lost and his show sounded bad. Big Hugh jumped up from his desk, let out a long, loud rope, farted real loud and shit on the floor. He said, who and where might this bad black nigga be? I said, I don't know where he is. That the nigga is, but they called him Sweet Ernie. Pig Hugh strapped on his pearl hound set of 44 and licked the green snot boogers from his Unipig nose. He blasted the coastal Mason to see the punk DA and said, me and Cox got to have law and order around this motherfucker. I want to charge this nigga Sweet Ernie with a 415, cussing in front of white women to be in lose not see. Meanwhile, L.E. Cox worked both day and night, rounding some racists that witnessed the sight. He got his flunky Cliff Miller to say he was there, and a couple of white innocent white liberals to make the shit look fair. On May 26th, the DA sent out his summons, which read, nigga, you was under arrest for insulting the white woman. Now this was deep down in everybody, we back up in the sticks, where the hunters had the cameras and that nigga was asleep. Until one day, about half-past noon, that nigga got the custody and made the white girl swoon. Now they called the Sweet Ernie and he's known from coast to coast. He said, say he's the best thing happened to a woman since pantyhose. Then he's traveling gravelly off the burning sand, him 5 pumps before bull dagger me. Lesbian bull dagger, he said. They can't even all the niggas got real black power. Cause all the niggas does is shit he shot. He rides and leans the big elbow. You can tell he's a motherfucker by the way he wears clothes. Sparks his flies when his rings are gold. A nigga wear fuchsia lilac and the color ain't in the rainbow. But now L.A. Cox, he's a bad motherfucker too. He didn't get to be vice chancellor by being on the food. They said L.A. Cox buckled for Dan Aldridge's job. That was the chancellor. Now who would place integrity and brain with a motherfucking slot? Now I ain't asking y'all to endorse no cussing, but if a motherfucker can't speak his mind, his motherfucking mind, we might as well be in Russia. You know, you got 5 minutes questions. I don't want to disrespect the fact that we told we be out here by 5. We'll be 5.